Meat City, baby.
Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video, and it's finally time. The Scourge of the Old Republic has arrived. It's Darth Revan's Ancient Journey. And what we're doing today in this video for all the journey characters, the legendary characters, we're trying to complete this event with the minimum gear level possible. And that's a bit of a tricky question to answer because there's different ways you can do it. So we'll get to that in a minute. But to start off the video, the too long didn't watch version, you'll see on the screen right now, this is the team that I used to defeat it. I had no Gear 12 characters. I had Gear 11 Bastila Fallen, I had Gear 11 HK-47, Gear 10 Carth, and then Gear 9 Canderous and Juhani. And I did add Carth's Zeta, and I had just a couple of the Omegas, basically the regeneration ones for Bastila getting health and protection back on her debuffs, and the one where she shares that with Darth Revan. If you want a complete view of my team, more detailed analysis, you'll see each character's abilities and stats so you can know exactly what I did. That'll be at the end of the video. But why I say it's kind of an interesting question or a hard question to answer about the minimum gear level is because it's going to depend on what kind of gear you have. So for example, you see the team that I had, no Gear 12s. And I think that's important because Gear 12 gear is really hard to get, right? It takes a while to find it. It takes a while to build that gear up if you're a newer player. If you're a player who's been around for a while, you may have stockpiles of that stuff because you have your meta teams all ready to go and you're running raids and you're just stocking up this Gear 12 gear, and it's the stuff that's at Gear 7, Gear 8 that's more valuable, the Carbantes and the stun guns. So I have seen other people posting the assertion. I haven't seen video proof of it, but I've seen other people posting, and it's not been just one, so I believe it's true. Being able to beat the event just by gearing up Bastila Fallen and HK-47. So basically, you max those two characters, Gear 12, 12 plus 5, Zetas, the whole 9. If you just do them, you could not touch the other ones. You get them Gear 7 stars. You could leave them at Gear 1, you could leave them at Level 1, and still get through the event. That's how good Bastila and HK-47 are. And that might be the route you want to go, because those are the two that you're going to use, it seems like anyway, in the meta Revan, Darth Revan lineup. They go with Darth Revan. You're going to gear them up anyway. Juhani, as far as we know, you're not. So taking her to Gear 8 or 9 like I did, maybe you'd rather leave her at 1 and put the extra gear on HK-47 and Bastila. So there's different approaches to it. If you're going to gear anybody up, gear those two up. A, it's what you need to get through the event most effectively. B, it's the team you're going to use. So if you have the gear, yeah, give it to them. Put the Zetas on, put the Omegas on, max them out. For me, the only thing I was trying to do is get through the event without going as high as possible. I wanted to avoid the Gear 12. So it's a Gear 10 average. That's a little easier than the Chewbacca Legendary and a little harder than the C-3PO Legendary. So that's about where I found it. The team is tougher to work with because it's very restricted. The event it's interesting because there's a deep mechanic involved. And as long as you understand the mechanic, you could probably shave a little bit of the gear off of what I did and still get through this. So what we're going to do now is get into the actual event. And I'm going to make a long story short. Tier 5 of the event is the only one that matters. Everything else you can get through. If you can beat Tier 5, you can beat the rest of the tiers for this event. So Tier 1, I'm not even going to show it. It's basically a tutorial. You don't use any characters other than the provided Revan. So there's no strategy here. You're just learning the abilities of Revan. You're kind of getting a little bit of the lore. You walk through it and you're fine, and then you advance on to the next tier. And Tier 2, again, very straightforward. It's just a battle of Carth, Bastila Fallen, and Canderous, along with a provided Darth Revan against Juhani. She's not super tough. She doesn't have really any tricks. If you get defeated, run it again. Again, if you can get through Tier 5, getting through this tier is going to be no problem. And I had my gear much lower when I got through the battle that you're seeing now. I ended up, I started at Gear 8 basically for everybody. And then when I got to Tier 5, I had to start putting on extra gear. So no big tricks here. Again, you're learning the abilities. If you somehow screw it up, just pay a little bit of attention, look at the abilities and how to use them, and you'll get through this. The only thing I think you can pick any leader you want. Carth is the one with the leader ability, so make sure you put him in the leader slot. But other than that, you'll breeze through Tier 2 as well. Tier 3, we get the entire team. Everybody's here. You have HK47 joining in. We've got Juhani now joined with the team, along with the ones that we used in the previous mission. And we're going up against a bounty hunter, Nord, and 2 assistants that we've seen before, the smuggler cartel. One of them is the tank, the bruiser, and the other one is kind of, I don't know if he can stealth or if he's just a support kind of damage dealer guy. But the one you have to watch out for is Calo Nord. He has a little bit of an interesting mechanic here. Basically, on his turn, he's going to not use an ability, or use an attack, I should say. He will just use an ability which counts. And that's kind of from his appearance in the game. He counted, and when he gets to 3, he can kind of wipe out your team. So he counts to 3. When he gets to 3, he does the super-powered attack. He does massive damage. He will automatically eliminate somebody. You can use Fear to kind of manipulate this a little bit. If Nord is feared, he won't be able to use an ability on his turn. He skips his turn, so he won't be able to count. So you can do that, and I think the damage, when he gets to 3, I think it's a random enemy for him or ally on your team that he does the damage to. So I don't think you can taunt with Juhani to take that hit. I think it's just going to be random. So again, if you go through this the first time, you get super unlucky. He gets to 3, you don't get to fear him because of the taunt, and he takes out Darth Revan with his first random hit, and then he takes out Bastila Fallen with the second random hit. Yeah, you might not get through it, but just load it up again. Pour the damage in on Calo whenever you can, as long as the taunt isn't there. Just blast through him as fast as possible, and eventually he'll use his random attack on Juhani or somebody less critical to your team, and then you will be able to get through it. So again, a little bit of RNG involved here, but nothing crazy. And once you understand the mechanic, basically he's counting. You can stagger him, you can fear him, slow him down as much as possible. Maybe you lose 1 character, maybe you lose 2, and as long as it's not Revan and Bastila, you should be able to get through this without any trouble. Tier 4 is kind of interesting. I feel like I didn't get it. I was at Gear 8 with all my characters except Bastila was at Gear 9, and I just kind of blasted through it. The boss can attack up to 3 times per turn, and he can counterattack. You can't inflict him with ability block or fear. You can't increase his cooldowns, but there was no pop to this guy. There was nothing you had to avoid, and you can't really do anything to avoid the counterattacks. You have to attack the guy. So yeah, if you've got low gear characters, if you've got Juhani and it's her turn, then yeah, use her taunt instead of attacking, because he can counterattack strongly and wipe them out. But you've got fear, you've got big hits from Revan that's borrowed. I feel like you'll just get through it. You just kind of have to power through it. And again, maybe you get unlucky with the way your turns or timing get set up, but it shouldn't be a problem. I just breezed through this, and I really didn't do anything kind of tricky. You can stun the boss, so keep that in mind. If you do that, obviously he can't counterattack. So use your abilities. Kind of a straightforward fight, even easier than the previous fight with Calo Nord. Okay, Tier 5, this is where the money is made. This is what you need to get through. So, 4 waves to this fight. And what I had to do is, if you're running with a low gear team, right? If you're trying to get everybody through, if you max Bastila and HK47, this isn't going to be as much of a problem. But if you've got gear 8 or 9 or 7 characters, if you're in that window, there's a ton of AoE, of area attacks that just deal damage to your entire squad. These guys throw grenades, they do other types of widespread damage to multiple characters on your team. The problem with this team is it doesn't have any regeneration. So yeah, you might get through this wave quick, but those guys are going to get off at least 1 attack, maybe 2, and if they all get off 1 or 2 attacks, that's going to be 4 or 5 grenades. Your team's going to lose their protection, and then in the next wave it's going to happen again. They're going to lose some of their health, and then in the third wave, they're not going to have enough sustain to make it through to the boss. So what I had to do was invest in the only form of regeneration that's in here, and that is Carth's Zeta Leadership. When you apply a dot to the enemy, your non-Sith characters, your Old Republic characters, regain health and protection. And you can put out a lot of dots here with Canderous and with Carth, and it made a huge difference. I was coming into each of the waves with more and more health and protection attached, and it just made it way easier and less RNG. You know, you could get to wave 3, but one of your characters is going to be at 25% health because they can't regen, and then wouldn't you know it, the first attack in wave 3 wipes that character out. So I found Carth's Zeta super useful for this and for my approach to this battle. There's other ways to get through it without doing that, but that's the way I did it. But even still, I don't think it's a bad investment. Carth's Zeta, there is a really good Carth-led team for Territory Wars, for Grand Arena. You will get a return on it eventually. So I did it, and it helped a lot. The other thing I didn't put many Omegas on this squad. I think I ended up with maybe 4 or 5 at most of the Omegas for the entire team to get through the event. And again, check the character list at the very end. The ones that were super important were the regeneration ones for the non-Old Republic guys. So think Bastila here. She has one of her Omegas on, I think it's on her, it's one of her uniques, where anytime buffs, debuffs, I think debuffs expire on the enemy team, or, oh no, it's at the start of her turn, she gets regeneration based on the number of total debuffs on the enemy team. So she is 1% per debuff. If there's 15 debuffs spread across the enemy team, she'll regen 15% of her health and protection at the start of each of her turns. And so that's valuable because, again, otherwise she's not gaining regeneration. She gets hit by all the area attacks, and she gets to the end battle very weak, and she's one of your more important characters. And the other thing you can do with an Omega is Force Bond, where she's bonded to Darth Revan. She'll share that regeneration with Revan. Again, important. Revan is your most important character to get through this, so you want him to be in good shape as well. So that's the gearing and ability strategy. If you want a little bit of a luxury that'll make your life easier, give the Omega to Bastila on her area shock attack. The one where if she applies her shock ability to a character that already has shock, she deals bonus damage to the entire enemy team. That damage is huge, and it can really help you burn through these waves faster. I didn't do it. I wanted to try and get through by not spending that Omega, but I think it would be a big help. So if you've got an extra Omega in the bank to spend, I would recommend you do it on Bastila's shock. I think it's her first special that deals bonus damage to all enemies if you're attacking a shocked target. So you shock them with Darth Revan, then you use Bastila's follow-up on a shocked enemy, and you'll deal some massive damage very, very quickly. So in terms of the actual battle, it's been playing here in the background. Wave 1 is straightforward, no real tricks to it. Again, when the leader pops up, you want to use Revan, you want to fear the team, you want to slow them down. But other than that, you can kind of just AoE them. AoE them down with every AoE attack you have and get through the wave as quickly as possible. If that doesn't work, if you get stopped or jammed up, then work it down to 1 or 2 characters left and use your regeneration. If you went for that Carth Zeta, apply those dots as often as you can to regenerate and go into the next wave in as good a shape as possible. Wave 2, again, nothing too crazy here. We've got some turrets. We've got a Sith trooper thing that will taunt, or a Sith soldier, I think they call it. The blaster turrets, the ones without the legs, those seem to be capable of doing the most damage. They're the most dangerous ones, so I would take those out first if you can. But again, nothing too crazy here. AoE, get the damage out, burn them down quickly, and get yourself into Wave 3. But there is an important thing that you want to try and do as you enter into Wave 3. So as you go into Wave 3, there are 2 of these Sith, I think they call them Sith soldiers. The guys in the silver armor that can taunt. If you get stuck behind those taunts and you're at low gear, this third wave can be a bit dangerous. Because they have 2 of those marauders who can deal massive, massive damage based on debuffs on your team. If they get to do a couple of attacks, they're going to take somebody out. So having Darth Revan ready to go with a lot of turn meter as you enter Wave 3, you can use your area shock attack, and that'll prevent the buffs from going up on those characters, and that'll buy you time to burn down the marauders, which I recommend that you do. Use HK-47's Death Mark attack or his super powered shot. Even if they don't have the Death Mark or the Fear on them, get at least one of those guys down as soon as possible. Maybe both. Use Fear when you can on them. You want to delay their turns as often as possible. You want to prevent the Sith soldiers from getting taunt up and get those out of the way, and then you can kind of work on the rest of the team here and get through it. But those marauders are the danger here, and they can get hidden behind the taunts, and you can find yourself in trouble. So that would be the thing I would recommend. At the end of Wave 2, going into 3, try to time it so Revan comes in with lots of turn meter so he can go first with his shock ready to put on all the characters and prevent those buffs, prevent that taunt on the Sith soldiers. So then we finally make it into wave 4, and this is where reading and paying attention can really help. You've got this boss droid, the assault droid Mark 1 in the middle, 2 of the walker droids, and then 2 of the circular turret droids. What the main boss character is going to do is he's going to scan, right? He does this like passive move where he scans his left and right to see if the droids are still there. He gains protection for each of them that are still there. So if all 4 are there, he's going to gain 4 times the protection as if 1 was there. So then in your mind, you might be thinking, okay, well then I need to get rid of those droids. Well, yes, but if he does his scan and none of the droids are there, then he gets his immediate cooldown reduced to 0 for the overload ability, which basically turns him super powered and he's going to start taking out your guys really, really fast. So the ideal way to go about this is to take out 3 of the droids and leave 1 up so he doesn't get as much protection regeneration and also doesn't get the super buff from all of his allies being taken out. So there's different ways you can do that. Obviously, the biggest thing you want to do is anytime you can, you want Revan to hit the main boss droid with his fear attack. Now, not because it'll fear the boss. The boss is immune to it, and he's immune to a lot of other things as well. But that will put fear on the 4 helper droids, and it'll skip their turns. Those things can put out damage pretty quickly. So I was basically spamming AoEs early. Canderous' AoE attack gives offense down, which is great because you want those things hitting softer, and eliminate them as fast as you can. Get those areas spammed out there. Use HK-47 special. Reduce the number of those droids quickly. And then you can focus on the assault droid. If you don't, and you're, again, at this lower gear, then those things are going to be hitting you often, right? There's 4 of them, so every time they get a turn, you're going to be getting attacked from 4 of those turrets, which means you won't last long. And also, the droid, the main droid, when he does his scan, he's going to see 4 droids, and he's going to get more protection. So you're not going to be able to make progress through his protection because he's going to be regenerating it faster. So I would take out the droids, and I would take out the circular turrets, not the leg droids, the spider droids. Take out the 2 outer turret ones first, then 1 of the spider droids with the legs, and then focus all of your damage on the boss. And you can see here, there's a point in this battle where I'm basically set up, and I'm working on the boss, and let me tell you guys, I did a ton of runs through this, trying to do it at lower gears, not even making it to wave 4, finally to getting to wave 4, and then getting crushed, not quite having a grasp on the mechanics here. Big shout out to my guild, Enterprising Starship. They kind of helped me refocus and think about the battle and you know, give me some pointers on things to consider and approaches to take, and so really kind of galvanized me the second night I was able to focus in and get through this. So thanks to them, and hopefully, you know, this video can help you guys out as well. So you can see that one moment where it looks like I've got everything set up. It looks like it's going to be a successful run. I'm getting close. I've got the all 3 of the helper droids down. I'm going to leave the last one up. I'm in pretty good shape. Only Juhani is gone. And I'm thinking, all right, it's time to go to work now. Let's burn this droid down. And then Darth Revan gets sniped and taken out by the boss. And I just, like, stopped. I was going through the battle, and I just kind of put my head down, and I thought, I can't believe that happened. I'm done. I have to do it again. I have to get the RNG right. I have to get that wave 3 set up. I have to make it through with all my characters, and I was just dreading it. And I paused for a second and thought, let's see this through. Let's not throw in the towel just yet, even though it was Darth Revan went down, and then Bastila went down, and the droid still had some protection left. I wasn't even through to his health. So it was just HK-47 and Carth and Canderous, and I thought, let's try. We have the regeneration. If we're putting out dots, we can put out dots pretty quickly here. Let's at least see what happens. And I'm thankful that I did, because it was enough to get through. The protection is the scary part for this guy's hit points, or his total health. Once you get through the protection, the health total is not that impressive. So it's going to seem like it takes a while, and you're going to be just pounding away on that protection and pounding away and making so little progress. But when you finally get through, the health goes much faster. The health pool is smaller than the protection pool. So you can see even HK47 goes down, and I've got him into red health. And I'm like, oh my god, it's so close. Just put those dots on. Let the dots do their work. Take him out, take him out. And turn after turn after turn, I'm worried that my guys are going to get taken out. But they're regenerating the health and the protection because we're getting all those dots out. And at the end of the day, it was enough, just barely, to get through. Keep in mind, taking the boss out does not end the fight here. You do have to clean up the helper droids. If you left any of them alive, you have to get them down too. So don't plan a YOLO to take out the boss, and then if you leave that last droid up and he takes you out, you're going to be a little upset. So just be aware of that. But if you go in knowing that, if you know how the fight is set up, you know the tricks as far of having some way to regenerate, knowing you're going to get hit with a ton of AoE in the early stages, having Revan ready to go with Shock in Wave 3, having your team come into Wave 4 with all of your members, use Juhani's taunt before the boss gets his first special, starts on a 3-turn cooldown. It's a big hit, so use Juhani's taunt just before that goes off. If you lose somebody, you want it to be her. And then use fear manipulation to control the turrets, take out 3 of them, leave 1 alive, and then focus all your damage on the boss. And you can get through it. It's frustrating. It will take a while if you're at these lower gears, if you're where I'm at. I did not one-shot this by any means, even with this gear setup. But you can do it. You've seen the proof, so stick with it. Know the mechanics, learn your team, and you will get there. Then we go into Wave 6, and again, you made it through Tier 5. If you made it through 5, you can make it through the rest. Don't worry about anything else. It's just kind of an RNG fest. Again, we've seen claims that people have beaten this without gearing Juhani at all. So Tier 6 is kind of weird. It's Darth Revan, and you get supplied a Jolie Bindo, and then you have to use your Juhani. She's the only character that you're using from your roster, and you're fighting Bastila Fallen and 2 of these spider droids. Jolie's useless. He gets ability blocked. He gets feared. I don't think I ever got to do anything with him other than use a basic once or twice. He's not going to revive. He's not going to heal. He's not going to do any of that because he's constantly going to be ability blocked. So he was worthless, but they give you a Darth Revan that's really good, and that will carry the day. Either you'll get feared and Revan will lose turns and he'll take crits and he'll die quickly, or he won't and he'll carry you to victory. The side droids, you might be thinking, oh, I can take those out and then focus on Bastila. They get regenerated. Bastila can call them back. So focusing them down isn't really going to help you. The one thing I would say, Revan, I think it's a Zeta ability, is active here, where if you damage an enemy to half health or below during your turn, a death mark will get applied to Bastila, and you can deal heavy damage to her. I think it happens once, maybe twice in my run here. But it was kind of hard to pull off. And again, this is an RNG fest. Literally, open it up, try to pound down Bastila. Hopefully you get a miss or 2 on your Revan. He evades, he doesn't get crit, whatever. They take Jolie out first, or they take just Juhani out. You can stun Bastila, so use your stun, and you only need to take out Bastila. Unlike in Wave 5, where you need to take out all the helper droids, as soon as Bastila goes down, you beat Tier 6 and you get through it. So it's frustrating because there's not really any coherent strategy other than maybe trying to get the death mark to apply. Pound on one of the droids, get it to half health, the death mark goes on Bastila, hit Bastila, and then you might do enough damage to kind of accelerate the process and take her out. Other than that, you can use fear manipulation and the other tactics, but there's not a lot of options here because your team is so restricted. Again, Jolie's not doing anything. He's a meatbag, and he's basicking. Juhani might get her taunt off, might get a stun off, but other than that, she's just there to take a couple hits. It's all about Revan and putting out damage with him and getting lucky on the fears and how the cooldowns work and how the cycle works, and then hopefully you take her out after you do it a couple times. So now we get to Tier 7, and I think this has been a theme where it's kind of a victory lap. It's kind of a cool moment, but it's usually not the most challenging battle in the event. And this is a really interesting one. You get Darth Revan and a T3, oddly enough, event unit supplied to you. And then you have Bastila of yours, HK-47, and Canderous. And you fight the other half of the Old Republic team, basically the good guys, in this kind of last battle on the way to the Star Forge. And I think that also mimics a moment from the games. It's been a long time since I played them. I really feel like I should go back and do that to experience the story again. I do remember enjoying it, but the details have certainly faded from my memory at this point. So you're going against a team with a Carth lead, and then they've got Juhani, they've got Jolee, and then they have Mission and Zalbar. And again, I didn't find any tricky mechanic or anything else that went on here. I basically just attacked and focused down one character at a time. And so for me, Mission, I think, was the most dangerous target. She can kind of stealth, and she can put out dots, and she can put out damage. So I wanted to get her down first. Now, obviously, Juhani can taunt, so she may do that, and you may have trouble getting through it. But you can strip the buffs away, or you could just burn her down. I don't think Juhani's that tough to get through. Whatever abilities come up in that order, I'll leave it to you to think about. But I got Juhani. I started working on her, but as soon as I could get around her taunt, I did so, and then focused on Mission. Doing that might put a taunt up on Zalbar, but once Mission's gone, Carth is the second important character to get rid of. He's the leader, so that's going to be easy to do with Darth Revan. And then the rest of the team just kind of falls apart. Obviously, Jolee is a healer. I don't think he can res anyone on that team. I think it's only Jedi, but I didn't ever have that come up. So maybe they gave him a special ability in this event where he can res the team. So if that is a thing, if you see that happen, obviously you want to prioritize Jolee. But because if his kit works the way it does in the regular game, he's not going to be this all-powerful healer and reser and something that you have to worry about. So I think I saved him till pretty close to the end. I was, again, the forced taunt from Zalbar. I had to take him out after getting Mission and Carth down, then Zalbar, then I went for Jolee, and then finally cleaned up Juhani at the end. She doesn't do a whole lot in terms of damage output. She's not that dangerous to go against. And as expected, I lost my additional characters, being left with just the main trio, which is why these are the ones that you want to power up. It's Darth Revan, who you can't power up because he's an event unit, but HK-47 and Bastila Fallen. And so you will be able to get through this without too much trouble. Again, if you're at the right gear level that you could beat Tier 5, you're not going to have trouble with Tier 7. And once you do that, once you finish off the other goody two-shoe allies here for the Old Republic team, you will have completed the Ancient Journey and unlocked Darth Revan. A really interesting character. The kit is still kind of being worked out here. The team is still being worked out. There is, if you're watching this video, spoilers, turn back now, mute it now, because there is a teaser that's coming, and if you're still listening, you're going to get the spoiler. They show Darth Malak. We don't know why, we don't know what that means. Obviously, he's coming to the game. He needs to be a part of this team in some form. I hope it's a raid and a raid reward. And I just say that because I want something fresh and new. Not that I'm hankering for more of this KOTOR content. I like it, it's fine, but I would rather have original trilogy content. But I feel like that would be a cool way to introduce this character. I hope it's not just all this build up and then he's a marquee, right? We don't want a marquee character that's vital to the team. You went through all this work to get Darth Revan, and then a key component for the team is Malak, who's a marquee who you have to spend money on top of all the grinding and spending and all the stuff that you did or to get ready for Revan. Or if you didn't spend, like me, doing it free to play, but you really went through your crystal stash and you really put everything else on hold to get this done, to then say, well, you got Revan, but the team's not really going to be efficient yet because you don't have Malak and he's a marquee. That would stink. I hope that's not what they're doing. I hope it's something more substantive, maybe a raid and he's the raid reward. That would be great. That's going to wrap up the video. As I said, I'm letting play the team that I use, a detailed view, each character. You can see their mods, you can see their abilities, and you'll know what exactly I used to get through this event. And just, again, to short cap it, Gear 11 for Bastila and HK-47, Gear 10 for Carth with his leader, Zeta, and then Gear 9 for Juhani and Canderous, and I think for sure you could shave some of that down a little bit on those two. So if you're able to do that, you can beat this event. Don't worry about it. It's not, I know it was teased as being very difficult. People were thinking, oh my god, is it going to be all Gear 12? No, it wasn't. It was similar to Chewbacca, I think a little bit easier, because in that one you kind of needed Bosk, you needed him Gear 12, you needed him Zeta'd, and then the rest of the team had to be really strong. I feel like you get away with a little bit less here, so that wasn't too bad. And getting Darth Revan is a big, big part of the game here. I think he's going to be important for something that's coming. We don't know what it is. Maybe it'll be a new territory war and not a raid. But whatever it is, he's going to be important. He's going to be part of the meta. Great character, give you some options going forward, and really help you dominate those grand arenas if you're able to get him the first time around. So hopefully the video was enjoyable or useful, or you learned something. If you did, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what gear you used to complete this event. If you're struggling, drop me a note. I'll try and help you out as best I can. Good luck. I hope you can get Darth Revan. If not the first time, start now, or finish now, right? If hopefully you've started already, grind those characters for his return. It's going to probably be about 3 months based on how the timing goes. You don't want to miss him the second time if you're not going to get him the first time. And the video will still be here, and it should still be current in terms of how you'll need to progress through this event and what kind of gear you can use to do that. So, thank you for joining me, guys. I'll see you next time.